You may think that Mercedes have no chance of winning the title this shot, but don't be so sure. Their rivals are starting to get worried about the gains they've been making over the previous races. So what did Helmut Marko say about how Toto Wolff's team could be back in contention soon? Plus, could Honda be buying a team to compete in 2026? And what secret deal is Sauber making to secure their future? Stay tuned, because all of that and more is coming right up. First up, Silver Arrows. Helmut Marko, who has been a Red Bull advisor since 2006, has said that his team are wary of Mercedes, who are learning how to unlock their car's power. He said that for now, it's not a big threat because Mercedes are not able to post competitive lap times consistently, but if they can do that, they would be right back in the running this year. He said, the dangerous thing is the potential seems to be there, and once that can be called up over a race distance, then they'll be right up there, or right at the front. So far this year, it has been Red Bull and Ferrari duking it out at the top of the table, mainly between their young drivers Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton have so far been a step behind in qualifying and race pace. The only positive for the Brackley-based team has been their reliability. Both cars have finished every single race this season, while both Ferrari and Red Bull have been set back by fuel and engine problems that gave them DNFs. After the Spanish Grand Prix, Mercedes were confident that they understood the fundamental issues related to their porpoising when the car aerostalls and bounces violently when accelerating. By the next race, their bouncing seemed to be back, and Lewis Hamilton was full of complaints. The seven-time world champion said, "I can't express the pain you experience, particularly on the straight here. At the end, you're just praying for it to end." With 8 Constructors' Championships in a row, Mercedes are not familiar with being in this position. 2022's new regulations have brought them back to the drawing board. Next, sitting pretty. Early in the season, it was pure Ferrari dominance. Their car looked to be the fastest, and Charles Leclerc was sitting comfortably at the top of the standings. But over just a few races, everything changed, and Helmut Marko is mindful that the same thing could happen to them. Right now, Max Verstappen is the man to beat. He has been virtually flawless this season, and without Lewis Hamilton to trade blows with, it's almost looked easy for the Dutchman. And Marko has admitted this. In an interview with Motorsport, he said, "We have an unbelievable run now. Normally in the first half of the season, we are always catching up, and now we're dominating. Reliability is always a concern if you have a car that is so much on the limit." For Red Bull, though, they might have bigger issues to worry about than what's happening on the track. For months now, team principal Christian Horner has been complaining about the cost cap of $140 million. He thinks that with inflation all over the world, it's not feasible for teams to stay within the limit. Horner said, "I think it genuinely is a force majeure situation that the FIA need to deal with. We don't want a championship decided in law courts or in Paris in front of the FIA." One team has already been fined for procedural breach for not submitting its financial report in time before the March 31st deadline. The FIA ordered that Williams pay $25,000 and set a new deadline for the team's report. It just shows how serious the FIA are this year about keeping teams in line. Other possible penalties include minor sporting penalties, which could affect the championship. Coming up, what's the big dilemma that Red Bull are facing for 2026? And are Sauber making a secret deal behind closed doors? So don't go anywhere. And now, new sponsor. Red Bull have been the king of sponsors in modern Formula One. Their recent partnership with Oracle is reportedly worth $300 million over 5 years. But now they could be getting a new partner that would bring an iconic car brand into the paddock. Earlier this year, news broke that the Volkswagen Group would be entering Porsche and Audi into F1 in the coming years. Exactly where they would end up on the grid isn't known, but we've got a pretty good idea. News outlet Blick has reported that Porsche will be partnering with Red Bull and that the announcement will be made official at the team's home race in Austria this July. That news comes as Honda have apparently shown an interest in returning to F1 too. Honda had a tumultuous relationship with Red Bull dating back to 2018. After a rocky start with reliability issues, their partnership ended in 2021 when Max Verstappen won his first world championship. That wasn't a bad way to say goodbye, but Red Bull have continued to use Honda engines with a contract that lasts until 2024. They are slowly taking over all parts of the production under the new company Red Bull Powertrains, which aims to make the team more independent. It seems that Honda have seen Red Bull's success and are considering returning in 2026. Journalist Michael Schmidt has reported that, just like Porsche, Honda is looking to come back to the sport in 2026, but it might be too little too late for Red Bull if they have already signed with Porsche. According to Schmidt, other options might include partnering with a different team or even buying their own team. Next, get Audi here. As for the other Volkswagen-owned brand, Audi, they have been making waves in the paddock for their top-secret negotiations with Sauber. Sauber runs the Alfa Romeo team, who are currently in 6th place in the Constructors' Championship. This is a massive jump from last year's standings. standings, where they finished in 9th place and only scored 13 points. This year, with new regulations and a new driver pairing of Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, Alfa Romeo are posting some very decent results. Bottas is sitting 8th in the standings and managed to finish P5 at the Australian Grand Prix behind the frontrunners. Bottas has even said the team are capable of fighting for race wins. On the motorsport podcast My Big Break, Bottas said it's realistic that we could do better than this, and in the future we can score podiums. We can even fight for race wins. Alfa Romeo's Ferrari engine has helped turn things around this season, just like the Haas team. Maybe that's why they've attracted the interest of Audi. F1Gate.com published comments from an anonymous team boss who commented on the likely deal between Alfa Romeo's owner, Sauber, and Audi. He said, "I don't understand why Sauber and Audi keep their cooperation a secret. Audi has already bought 25% of Sauber some time ago, and they want to buy another 50%. That's a huge stake, but if Audi move in and take over, it could mean that Alfa Romeo are pushed out of the sport. It wouldn't be the first time they exited, but with such a rich history that spans all the way back to the 1920s, it would be a shame to watch them leave." In the drivers' market, some of the best current stars are already starting to think about their future, and nobody has a bigger target on their back than Daniel Ricciardo. It's normal for the media to be commenting on a driver's lackluster performance, but the team are usually there to back them up. At McLaren, though, CEO Zak Brown has broken this tradition and was publicly critical of Ricciardo. He said that the Australian wasn't meeting their expectations, which has put a big question mark on his head for next season. And for his part, Ricciardo has agreed. He said, "It's not false. It's pretty true. No one's going to be harder on me than myself." But the growing rift between the former Red Bull driver and his team has led some to advise him to go elsewhere. Journalist Tom Carlson has said that he could see Ricciardo fitting in well at Aston Martin if Sebastian Vettel leaves at the end of the season. Vettel's contract expires this season, and it looks likely that he could call it a day on his illustrious career. The German won 4 world championships with Red Bull, but failed to do the same at Ferrari before leaving for Aston Martin. If Ricciardo was to go there, it would be his 4th team in 5 years. I always knew he was the most popular. Do you think that Ricciardo should cut his losses and leave McLaren? Or is it his best chance of achieving results? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.